Nintendo 3DS comes with an extending stylus. Hello, little stylus.
Hello, Mario.
For the past few months, I have been spending my time not on the personal computer or on the Nintendo Switch, but instead has been spending most of that time on the Nintendo 3DS, doing custom themes, homebrewing, adding my own games onto it, etc. And I know that's so weird of me to spend a lot of my time on a system that Nintendo shut down years ago, and especially since the Switch 2 is just around the corner, but if you could just spare me 20 minutes, allow me to explain why I'm doing this.
Now, I first just want to say that I'm in no way saying that modern technology is bad. As much as I'd like to take the piss out of how AI is being implemented everywhere, and in order for me to continue this sentence, please cup up $13.99 a month, plus a guarantee that this sentence won't be available in the future as you don't own it, so f*** off. I am insanely grateful that normal technology is still being developed as we continue trailing to our inevitable extinction in the future. Cause I'm gonna be honest, I would be the biggest hypocrite if I said I hated modern technology while I'm still using an RTX 2080 to edit my videos. Well, actually, no, that says a lot. But as we're starting to approach a future with subscription services, artificial intelligence, and for streaming services not having everything available, it's understandable why a lot of people are turning the clock back on what technology they're using. And this is where the 3DS comes in. No introduction, no quick essay, everybody already knows what the 3DS is. It sold 90 million units for both the 3DS and the 2DS family. Hundreds of games, dozens of awesome features, there's a reason this system is beloved. But in recent years, the 3DS has been growing quite a stable community with not only homebrew support, but also just a general community of people going back to playing this system. And I've hopped aboard that train as well. I have a new 3DS that I gotten for Christmas in 2015, and ever since then, it has been one of my favorite systems that I've ever played. And that was also one of those early homebrew endeavors, as you can see some of my videos from 2019 where I had this system. So for today's video, I want to give you all a full in-depth list on all the reasons why the 3DS is still an amazing system to this day, and also talk about all the cool things with it that you could do now. This is why your Nintendo 3DS is still cool. First off, it's incredibly easy to homebrew. You know all those memes going around saying that it's incredibly easy to homebrew your 3DS? They weren't lying. We've come a long way since the days of Cubic Ninja and having to have physical games to homebrew your system. Now there are plenty of exploits that you can use to get around homebrewing your system, as well as a plethora of tools to use once you've homebrewed it. If I were to give any advice to you if you decide to homebrew your system, it would be to not follow a video tutorial and have it as a last resort, because these exploits and these guides get updated quite frequently. So if you want one amazing up-to-date guide that gives you everything you need to homebrew your system, that would be 3ds.hacks.guide. This guide gives you everything you need to homebrew your system, as well as giving you little notifications and bits of info if anything were to occur. Trust me, this guide is like Allstate. You're in good hands. Another bit of advice I would give is to update all your stuff manually by dragging and dropping your stuff. Not everything has to go through it. Things like Twilight Menu++ are fine with updating through the Universal Updater, but some things like Luma 3DS have been known to break if they try to be updated through the built-in updater. This will probably change in the future, but for now, this is the best way to go about it, and that's how I updated my Luma 3DS. For some people, they want to homebrew their system so that way they could get all of these services back up and going in order to play online and with other homebrew friends. For other people, it's, but oh boy, once you have updated your 3DS, you've got a lot of stuff to do now. Let's get all the non-homebrew stuff out of the way. You have access to all of the Nintendo 3DS and DS library in your hands without any need of emulation. The new Super Mario Bros. Games, Mario Kart DS and 7, all the Pokemon games, Legend of Zelda Spirit Tracks and Link Between Worlds, Kirby Superstar Ultra, Planet Robobot, that one Weird Kirby's Epic Yarn port that I actually really like, and of course, Nintendogs. I mean, who wouldn't want to play Nintendogs? The Nintendo DS has one of the best library of games imaginable, but even with the amazing emulators that we have now, it does feel a little weird because of the dual screen nature of the system. So because of that, the best way to go about it is by playing it on a DS by any means necessary. Not only do you have access to the 3DS and DS library, but you also have access to a lot of virtual console titles too. Some from the NES, some from the Super Nintendo if you have a new Nintendo 3DS model, and of course the Game Boy Advance titles which were given to the Ambassador Program people. Psst. Don't worry, I'm gonna get into the emulators in a second. I just wanted to mention all the stuff that was already available on the 3DS before Homebrew was added and before Nintendo shut it all down. You also have a lot of customization options with the home menu. You could drag icons around, you can install custom themes onto it, you can also customize it with badges that you get from the Nintendo Badge Arcade. I actually mentioned a lot of this in my console menus video, which you should probably go check out after this video. Wink wink. You can customize your Miis, you can go onto the internet, you can also watch videos through YouTube and stream Netflix. But by far, one of the most beloved features that Nintendo gave us for the 3DS was Street Pass. If you and another person had walked by each other and both of you just happened to have 3DSs with you, both of you would get a green notification light on your DS. This is a Street Pass notification, and as you open up your DS and go to the Mii Plaza, the Mii of the person you walked by will appear in your plaza, and vice versa. This meant that if you brought your 3DS with you to places you went, to anywhere you went, even out of state, this meant that you had something to show it, as a lot of Miis would start showing up in your plaza from out of state, and it just overall built quite a fascinating community. There are people to this day bringing their 3DS along with them to see if they could get a Street Pass, and there would be viral tweets going around showing that somebody would get a green light, meaning they got a Street Pass. One of my favorite videos on YouTube right now is of this video from Nintendo Life, where Xeon brought his Nintendo 3DS with him all around him for the entirety of 2023 to see how many Street Passes he could get. Oh, and I haven't even talked about Miiverse yet, which was like a whole social media platform for the 3DS and Wii U. I used to post so much on these, oh my god. But, of course, as the years went on and as the 3DS started to show its age, a lot of these features started to become a little bit more diminished. One of the first features to go was the YouTube app, as the 3DS app had shut down on August 30th, 2019. This would be followed up by the Netflix app, which was pulled from the eShop on New Year's Eve of 2020, and then the following year, on June 30th, the app was disconnected from Netflix's servers. But finally, on March 27th, 2023, the Nintendo eShop for the Nintendo 3DS and the Wii U would both be shut down. And this took a massive blow to video game preservation, because there were a lot of titles for both of these systems that were only available digitally. So cutting out the eShop meant there wouldn't be exactly any way of being able to download these titles again. Well, there's a workaround. If you had decided to homebrew your 3DS, not only can you get a lot of these old services up and going again, but you can also do even more when it comes to what games you play on it. Let's get the biggest one out of the way. Pretendo. Pretendo is an online internet service for the Nintendo 3DS and Wii U that brings back a lot of these old internet services back. Games like Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros., Super Mario Maker, all are compatible again. Well, for the most part, check their guide, thanks to Pretendo. Sadly, you will need to have an account in order to use it, but this is the only time where I can accept having an account for something. But man, once you do create one and have an account set up, you can actually play a lot of online games thanks to it now. Another really cool feature that you can add to your 3DS thanks to Homebrew is NetPass, which is like this online server place where you can connect to these virtual environments, and if other people connect to those virtual environments, it'll signal that Street Pass notification, and you can grab the Street Passes from people that connected to that same area. Essentially, it's online Street Pass, which is actually really cool given that not a lot of people are bringing their 3DSs around them, especially if you live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Some other apps that I would also recommend are NTRCFW and Arctic Base, which are both in regards to capturing footage on your 3DS. As of right now, the only way to capture your 3DS through hardware is by using a modified 3DS with a capture card inside of it, but I don't really want to go through that route, so if you want to do it without modding your system, these are the two apps that you can use to get around that. While NTRCFW captures your entire 3DS as a whole via the internet, Arctic Base does something a little bit more interesting, and it actually taps your 3DS into Citra. So not only does that allow for upscaling and not have to deal with any lossy compression because of the internet, but it also syncs up your saves between both Citra and the 3DS itself. Honestly, this is really f***ing cool. I don't even know how they figured all this out. I also want to mention this, but I'm only going to mention it very lightly because it is a very sensitive subject, but the H-Shop. If you know, you know. But of course, 3DS homebrewing isn't for just technological purposes. No. You can also homebrew your 3DS for cosmetic purposes. Yeah, no, once you homebrewed your 3DS, you have a lot of customization options too. And by far, the best tool to get that job done is Anemone 3DS. Yes, I think that's actually how you pronounce it because anemone is the name of a plant. Anemone 3DS is a massive suite of customization tools that let you customize themes, badges, and even a fucking splash screen for your system, which by the way, the 3DS doesn't even have a splash screen. Be warned though that if you do decide to go through the custom badges route, that it will overwrite the badges you already have, so please make a backup of them. But even then, once you do go through the Anemone 3DS badges, it's actually kind of stupidly simple to make your own because they're just a bunch of PNGs. You can also install them via the QR code and scanning them in the Anemone 3DS app, but I personally like to do them manually because it lets me customize the name and the profile that appears in the badge menu. One of my favorite sets at the moment are these Portal badges. This whole set has a bunch of really cute Portal and Portal 2 badges, and I absolutely adore them. And it makes me wish that we had some sort of official Portal game on the 3DS. But of course, you can always play homebrew games. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and touch on this real quick because there's not a lot of people making straight up homebrew games for the 3DS because it is quite difficult to make your own game from the ground up. But one of the most beloved ones out there is this one that is a recreation of Portal. It actually runs pretty okay. The portals do their job. I actually think it's a fun game, but not something I'm gonna come back to on a consistent basis. I also found these DIY homebrew ports of Super Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild, and they are very strict back, but the fact that they work is actually really adorable. I like that. This one's actually a DS port, and I'm gonna get to DS playing here in a second, but this one of Mario Galaxy is also really cool too, and I hope it gets updated in the future because this is actually really playable. I love it a lot. Usually when it comes to homebrewed 3DS games, usually the ports are where it's at. Half-Life, Space Cadet Pinball. Do I even need to say this? But one of the most technologically impressive 3DS ports to ever exist is this one of Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City because they run on the same engine. Yeah, it runs pretty slow, and in some places you actually need to use the top-down camera in order to get through because of how buggy it is, but still, the fact that they managed to port Grand Theft Auto 3 on the 3DS is so impressive. Major props to the people behind this because this is one of the most impressive ports I have ever seen on the 3DS ever. But let's say you want to play a couple of older games. Let's say you want to play some games that usually a lot of other things can run and you want it to run on your 3DS as well. I'm certain there's a word for it, but I think I'm gonna have to emulate that word. Of course there's emulators. Of course. You know, what's not to love about that? Of course RetroArch is on here, and that's one of the most popular all-in-one emulators to play with, but right now there's a lot of controversy regarding RetroArch and the ethics of it regarding emulators, so I would highly suggest looking through other separate and even better emulators that you can use to get the job done.
Some popular ones include Virtua NES for NES games and SNES 9X for Super Nintendo games. Now, it should be worth noting that some games are a little iffy for these emulators. A case in point for Virtua NES, the Mario 3 ROM hack, Mario 3 Mix, sometimes the instrumentation is a little off. However, if you just inject them to Virtual Console, which I'll get to here in a second, playing it that way should be fine. But one of the trickiest to run, but it is sorta possible, is Nintendo 64. Sure, there's a couple of already pre-made ports like Super Mario 64, but if you want to play other N64 games on your 3DS, one of the only few good emulators that you can run on it is Daedalus X64, and even then, that's probably your best option for the new Nintendo 3DS model. It does work, and some games run fine on it, but there is a big compatibility list that you can check to see which games do work to the fullest on this emulator. But wait, no, hold on, the 3DS already technically had some of these emulators because of the Virtual Console system. Couldn't you just be able to run all the ROMs through there and use all the features Virtual Console gives? Yes! New Super Ultimate Injector 3DS does exactly that. It lets you take a Virtual Console title from your computer and be able to inject a different ROM onto it for you to be able to play on your system. There are some compatibility layer hoops that you do have to get through first, like for example the mapper system of the whole NES, but once you get through with that, it's actually a pretty seamless tool. But let's say you want to play some DS games, and let's say they may have not appeared on the eShop or you don't have a cartridge for it. Well,
That's where Twilight Menu++ comes in. Twilight Menu++ is an open source DS menu application which lets you run any Nintendo DS and even Game Boy Advance ROM you want. Oh yeah, I should already mention, the Game Boy Advance games that come with the Ambassador program actually technically run natively on the system. Because the 3DS and the Game Boy Advance share very similar CPU architectures, there's a little bit of behind the scenes in order to get the games running. There's a whole thing from 𝘺𝘰𝘶 Studios on his video about 3DS homebrewing that talks about it. It's actually really cool. But yeah, Twilight Menu has a lot of really cool features in order to get your games running, and there's a lot of configuration settings too. The whole thing's designed to look like a DSi menu. It's so cute. But yeah, honestly, this is one of the best things that you can use to not only play any DS game you want, but you can also play ROM hacks of those games too. One of the best ROM hacks that's currently available right now is newer Super Mario Bros. DS, which is a ROM hack of New Super Mario Bros. I love this ROM hack with a passion. I also loved the Wii version that first came out. I think the newer Super Mario lineup is amazing, and it's very well respected in the community. And I managed to play through the whole game using Twilight Menu++, and I honestly think it was one of the best things I could have done, because playing this on a computer emulator just didn't feel right to me. Oh yeah, by the way, this also gives you, just like in general, a ton of different ROM hacks and modifications that people have made over the years for NES, SNES, Game Boy, and of course the 3DS ones. One of my favorite mod packs at the moment is the Modernization mod pack for Minecraft New Nintendo 3DS Edition. Oh yeah, a lot of people forgot Minecraft's on the 3DS now. It actually got announced randomly on a Direct, and it came out on the same day as the Direct, so that's why it's weird. But yeah, there's a lot of people that actually really do like this version of the game for how odd and peculiar and kind of adorable it is. And I myself am one of them. I love Minecraft 3DS. I think it's a fascinating game. I'm very grateful for the fact that it exists, and I can safely say that I'm playing an official Minecraft game on this system because of it. So with that in mind, there is a whole community dedicated to this game that has been updating it and modernizing it to this day, and it's a bundle that you can download from the Ultimate Updater titled the Modernization Mod Pack. This pack adds some new quality of life features like some new textures, some new features, some other sorts of customization, and overall just trying to modernize the game closely to what we have right now. Oh, but if we're going to be talking about mod packs, I need to talk about the big one. Custom Track Grand Prix 7, or CTGP 7. Much like its Mario Kart Wii counterpart, CTGP 7 is an overhaul mod for Mario Kart 7 that not only adds a few new characters to play as, but also adds, not replaces, adds up to over 100 different brand new courses to play through with new music to go with them as well. This is honestly one of the coolest Mario Kart mods, or one of the coolest Mario mods period I've ever seen, and if you have a copy of Mario Kart 7, I highly recommend you download this mod. Man, 3DS homebrewing is so fun, honestly. Is there anything gonna stop me from enjoying this? Oh. Oh dear. You know, I'm actually going to be honest, I've been kind of getting this unnerving thought recently, and I know it feels abrupt to mention it like this, but so are the thoughts themselves. Consider that tasteful interpretation of how I feel. But let's face it, these systems are old. The original 3DS model came out 14 years ago now, and the system I have now, despite having much better specs than the other, is 10 years old. It's still a very old system. Are a lot of us just denying the inevitable that these systems are slowly becoming irrelevant? Are we just doomed to leave all these behind and we just want to cling on to these as much as possible? Is it a sense of grief? Is there any other purpose for us homebrewing our systems to play these games in such a convoluted manner when we could just open up in an emulator on a computer and play them from there? I remember watching 𝘺𝘰𝘶 Studios' video about the subject, and honestly, it made me really think a lot about it and why I even decided to homebrew my system in the first place. I think the ultimate reason why we do homebrew is because we're tired. We're not only tired of having a lot of our beloved systems dying out and games being exclusive to those consoles, but we're also tired of modern technology becoming so predatory with subscription services and privacy policies. I think, in a way, poetically, The 3DS has become a symbol of independence, finally being able to gain back control and being able to do whatever you want without limitations. Going back to what I said earlier about people trying to go back to older or more simplistic technology, I see a lot of merit in what they're trying to do. They're trying to get themselves back to a certain point in time where all of this wasn't as much of an issue. And I think this whole concept regarding the 3DS is a perfect example of this movement. We just simply want to have fun again. We're tired of how every social media app is trying to be the same, and how every app has notifications and trying to distract you from doing things, and how gravitated we are towards our phones, and how we can't even make time to watch a f***ing film now or read a book. If we're getting to a point in time where people are literally recommending you to watch movies at 3 times speed because you don't have time to watch it nowadays, I think it's time that you put down that phone and open up the hinge. I mean, one of the most popular games on the 3DS is a game about training your brain and getting it better in the long run, so I'd say honestly, we owe a lot to the 3DS, and we owe a lot to how simple and amazing it was. And I'm so happy that we now have a whole community dedicated to bringing this system back to life, and I'm more than grateful for their service.
It's a bit anecdotal, but I was just looking back at a lot of the old photos I had taken on this system, and I had forgotten some of these were actually taken with that 3D feature not a lot of people use. And looking at these photos with that 3D mode were way more immersive than any other childhood photo I have. It's a bit gimmicky, understandable, and it wasn't a big selling point at the time, but the fact that I was able to take these photos in 3D and being able to reminisce on the past in a much wider depth than any other childhood photo is insane to me. This is kind of like that virtual reality Apple's been trying to do recently with their Apple Vision Pro, and how you could take your $1,200 phone and record videos for your $3,500 headset. It's like, you know how they're trying to do all that VR shit? Nintendo beat them to the punch 10 years ago with a $200 price tag. It just goes to show that things were just way simpler back then. And this homebrew movement isn't just reminiscing on the past, but it's rather turning the clock back on all of our technology, and it's making it fun again. It's making our enjoyment of these things in our world way more fun than ever before, and it's to help prevent letting our old systems go to waste. So, to anybody out there who still has a 3DS, I recommend that you do the same for your system. I think you're gonna like it. Hey everybody, thank you all so much for watching this video. I know that this was a very unique subject compared to anything I've talked about before, but I honestly was so immersed by this subject that it was worth discussing. If you guys did enjoy this video and you want to see more videos of me just looking at weird shit online or talking about funny things, be sure to hit the like button, and if you're new, the subscribe button and the notification bell so that way you'll be notified whenever I upload a video. And if some of you want to support me even further, you can go check out my merchandise store and my Ko-fi page, which will be both in the description below. And I want to hear what you think. What are your thoughts on 3DS homebrewing? Have you homebrewed your 3DS yet? Tell me in the comments. And with all of that said, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!